here, finally, Chris.
Yes,
Episode
sir.
1, officially, the Elevate Cleveland podcast. My name is Dominic DiFranco, to all our viewers, alongside my wonderful co-host.
Chris Doyle.
Excellent, and we have a very special guest today. We've been excited about this for a while. Mr. Marques Ogden.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Marques
Gentlemen,
Ogden.
what's going on? How y'all doing?
Not
Doing
too
well,
bad,
sir.
Marcus. How you doing?
Doing well. Been here working all day and hanging out with you great folks, so everything's going well.
Yeah? Traveling okay?
Yeah, travel's good. I was in Detroit not that long ago, and then I went to Columbus, Ohio to talk to the Ohio State athletes, wrestling, track and field men and women, and women's ice hockey went really, really well. And then now I'm here with you all, and I've got a lot of things coming up on the books for 2022.
Busy man.
Yeah,
Very
and
busy.
another year older. Birthday yesterday, right?
Yeah, happy birthday.
That's
thank you,
awesome.
sir.
Happy belated.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
41. And I tell my wife all the time, hey, as long as you're keeping me around, then I'm doing something right.
That's right. That's right.
There you go.
Excellent. Marcus, I think what people right away are going to find relatable with your story, just from like a fan base, is right. Everybody probably questions you on that is football, right? So why don't you just, first and foremost, just kind of tell us who you are. You told us a little bit about speaking there. We'll get into that. Tell us a little bit about your backstory, who you are, what kind of family you come from, and how you kind of got into the position you're in now.
So I'm from Washington, D.C. I went to St. John's College High School, the same high school that Kevin Planko's Under Armour went to in Northwest Washington, D.C. Played football there for the cadets. We're actually a nationally ranked high school team now in the country. We're a real powerhouse, which is exciting to see.
Nice.
From there, I got one scholarship offer, went to Howard University in Washington, D.C., which was awesome because my father is a Howard grad. He's a Bison, which was fantastic. From there, I wanted just to be an investment banker. I wanted to work on Wall Street, so I majored in finance, and I worked at Merrill Lynch as an intern my junior year, my redshirt sophomore year on the field. Had a great time. Worked in the stocks and bonds room with blue chip accounts, and I really enjoyed it, and I loved it. And I had no aspirations of being an NFL athlete. I went to Howard, great institution, sports-wise, education-wise, but when you only get one scholarship offer at the very end of your recruiting time, you're not thinking you're going to be an NFL athlete.
Yeah, right.
You just not thinking about that. So for me, it was like college was going to be a great experience. I played a couple years. Awesome. If I get education for free, even better. So I ended up being a 4-year starter, tackle, played right tackle, left tackle, played right tackle, left tackle, then went to right tackle again, then moved to center the last 6 games of my senior year. And I went to the Hula Bowl, which was awesome. So Mac Brown, who's now the head coach at Chapel Hill, North Carolina, was my coach. He was at Texas at the time. So he coached guys like Vince Young and Jermichael Finley, Ricky Williams, all those guys back when they were a powerhouse. So Coach Brown was awesome. I also I got coached by a gentleman named Jack Harbaugh, the father of Jim and John Harbaugh, was my O-line coach. It was great, and I had a great Hula Bowl. I kicked some butt of guys from Florida State to Texas to Chapel Hill to Notre Dame to Miami. And this is when Miami was, because back in that time, Miami was a powerhouse, Notre Dame.
For sure.
We didn't have Alabama or any of that stuff like we do today. So went there, had a great Hula Bowl, got drafted into the National Football League in 2003 to the Jacksonville Jaguars under Jack Del Rio.
You were drafted when? What round?
6th round.
6th round. Okay.
So football being a pretty predominant part of your life.
Oh yeah, at that time.
When did you start? What age?
So I didn't start playing until I was a freshman in high school.
Really?
Really? Wait, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was too big to play, middle school. Pop one or things like that. And then St. John's did not have a middle school football team. We had a middle school basketball team, which I played on, but we didn't have football until high school.
Yeah.
So my brother played in the 7th and 8th grade, and then all through high school. And then I started my freshman year at St. John's.
Yeah. A lot of backyard football, I imagine.
Well, it's interesting you say that because my brother is 6.5 years older than I am.
For sure. Okay.
So we didn't have a lot of the competition. We interviewed on our podcast today, Chris Gronkowski.
Wow.
Oh, no
So
shit.
he is
Wow.
the middle of the 5 brothers.
Yeah.
So all five played professional sports. The oldest brother was a baseball player, never played football. Then the other 4 all played football. 3 were drafted into the NFL. Chris was undrafted. Got 3 years in, was a fullback, great, a nice career, played at Maryland and played at Arizona. And he had a good career in college and in the NFL. But he talked about the competition and what it was like and all the guys in the house growing up, they would compete over food and this and that and this and that.
Yeah.
But you got 5 boys all in that same age range. So to that degree, I can understand totally where he's coming from. But for us, we were big guys. And we were both linemen. So we weren't like running backs or receivers, quarterbacks. Like we weren't out there trying to like work on who was the fastest, who was the strongest. Like, we were just like big linemen. So, I mean, like we just did, lineman stuff. Eat and eat. That's what we really did. And so really, we didn't really have that whole, differentiating factor of like, you know what I'm saying? Like having to compete against each other.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Growing up with your older brother and how successful he was in football, even at a young age, was, I know, in your book talks about a lot, and we'll get to the book as well, but, your father and your older brother were obviously an integral part of your life. Was he like a mentor for you in the sense of football when you started catching the bug? Like, was freshman year, you're like, oh my God, like I want to go. You said you really aspire to go to the NFL, but like, I mean, at some point, you kind of had it in like the back of your head, like maybe this could happen. Was he somebody you looked up to? Was your dad like an inspiration? I know you talk about your dad being somebody you still wish was around to talk on the day about struggles. Like, tell me about that growing up with those two older gentlemen.
So my brother, because, when he got drafted by the Ravens and I was in D.C., which was like an hour, 10 minutes away, it was great because he could come to my high school football games. I remember being a junior and he was drafted number 4 overall. It went Keyshawn Johnson, Kevin Hardy, Sin Wrestling, my brother. And him being in Baltimore, I got a chance to come to all of it. He came to a lot of my games, and he got a chance to watch me and give me great advice and great tutelage. And then when I went to Howard, if he could make games, he would. So he was always giving me great advice. But here's the thing. In high school, I was 6'3" when I graduated. I got to be almost 6'6" when I got to Howard as an incoming freshman. So I had a late growth spurt. So for me, I didn't really have this, especially in high school. I didn't have the type of body type Jonathan did. He was 6'9", he had a different type of length, type of reach. So he taught me a lot about the game, but I wasn't able to play it like he was. Now I got to college and got a little bit taller and got a little bit more athletic. I could do some things differently. And then I would have to say, man, like I would say right before my senior year, before my last year, I had an inkling that I could potentially go to the NFL. I was in people's draft books, draft boards. Say Marques could be as high as a 3rd rounder, maybe a 5th or 6th, depending upon, how he develops, how to get stronger. And then on top of that, Howard got a strength coach that year from Towson named Keith Camaforo. We're still friends to this day. Yeah. And Keith gave me a lot about the training that I needed in the weight room and things like that. So going to my last year at Howard, I knew I had an opportunity to be an NFL athlete.
You went into the NFL in 2003. Did things change for you? Do people treat you different, or because I know you talked about that a little bit in the book when you started your company and everything. But when you went into the NFL, did you kind of notice people are treating me differently now? Or
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they rolled the red carpet out for you. I mean, think about it. Like I saw a statistic: 1.6% of society will be an NFL athlete. 1.6%. Yeah. Then 38% of us will have 3 credit seasons or more to become vested and get our pension. So basically a little more than a third of us get to 3 years. Think about that. Wow. 66% of the guys, it's actually 62% of the guys don't make it to their 3rd year. Yeah. They just don't, because the NFL is designed to be not for long. But while you're in it, they love you. They roll the red carpet out for you. Go somewhere, you very well pay for things, and people are rolling out this and that and all the treatment. And I coach a lot of guys that play in the NFL now. One of my best clients is the Buffalo Bills. And I tell all their guys I've talked to Tre'Davious White, Josh Allen, Ed Oliver, Tremaine Edmonds, Deion Dawkins, all these guys, that, man, look, football is a part of your life. Enjoy it. But remember, at some point, you're going to be an ex-athlete.
For sure.
And how you treat people is going to go a long way. Yeah. And so for me, the NFL, definitely people rolled the red carpet out. That was all everywhere. But what I try to do is remember that football is a job. It's not a way of life.
But you didn't realize that right when you got into the NFL. Did you looking back now, do you think you had a big head doing that maybe?
Well, when you're young and you're a rookie and you get this money and you're drafted, you have a little bit of a big head, sure. You have some confidence about you. And, I wasn't as high as some other guys, other positions. I'm a lineman. So, we don't really get the glory that defensive linemen get, or running backs or receivers or quarterbacks or tight ends, stuff like that. But, I was very confident in my abilities. I knew what I could and couldn't do and, all that kind of stuff. So, Yeah, absolutely. It was really nice to have that overall confidence, but at the same time knowing that, the blink of an eye could be gone.
Oh, like anything in life, it could be gone. I mean, we talk all the time, like, what happened to us back, our families in 2008, like anything could happen, really. So, you definitely have to be prepared. Yeah. What is your advice for those guys in the NFL when you're telling them, hey, listen, you got $1 million contracts now, just so you know, X, Y, and Z happens after life. You got to be able to prepare. Is there financial advice you give them, relationship advice you give them? I mean, what do you tell these guys?
So it depends. Sometimes with guys with financial advice, it's making sure that they're planning for tomorrow when their bills won't stop. And when you're done in the NFL, the money doesn't come in and grows and just large sums like it does at that time. So be prepared for that. That's the first thing I talk about. Then when it comes to relationship advice, I try to tell them, look, if you're been with somebody before football and they've known you for a while, if you can, stay with that person, right? If you guys have a great relationship, then stay with that person. If you're going to mess around and all that type of stuff, that's fine, but don't be serious about anybody. Like, don't make it where you're lying to people and telling people all this BS, because at the end of the day, all you're going to do is just you're living a life of a lie. So I'm very frank with the guys, and I say, hey, look, if you're going to be in relationships, which I encourage all guys to have a good partner that they can rely on, and hopefully they've known them before football, because that way they've known you, your tendencies, they can see past the money, the fame, and they know who you are as a person. After the fact, it still can be done, but it's harder.
Yeah.
So I try to tell guys to be aware of that. Then I just tell guys, network while you can. While people want to talk to you and while people want to engage you, network all the way around. Because if you're networking at that point, then from there I feel you're actually having a chance to actually get some opportunity to do things after football.
Yeah, 100%.
So how does because you do mention a couple things in the book, and the book we keep mentioning, the success cycle. By the way, I'm not 100% done with it. It's awesome.
Thank you,
There's some certain things I want to bring up.
You haven't finished it?
As though we have. Close. Getting there. I got to have it done before you come on. What does the NFL do, if anything, to help you transition into, I'm going to call it kind of like the military, like to civilian life?
So, interesting way of putting it. So, when I left the NFL, there was nothing, unfortunately. There was no programs. In 2013, they started the NFL Trust, NFL Legends, and NFLPA Former Players Association, where guys could go and get help, like transition help, relationship help. They could get financial help. They could get continuing education. You can go to like Harvard.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the NFL will pay for it. Wow. Harvard or Babson, you can get your master's. You can go get a PhD, all these different things, and the NFL will pay for it. So in 2013, they really did a nice job of putting that into the new CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. So we, as retired players, would have different avenues and resources for us to better ourselves if we were having problems.
Okay.
So that really has been a huge, as a matter of fact, when I lost everything in 2013, the Gene Upshaw Trust Fund actually kept me from going homeless, because that was just started actually that year. So I filed bankruptcy April 2013. That new program was put in January 2013.
Wow.
So I was one of the first.
Wow. Yeah.
I was one of the. I was actually one of the first 5 guys to actually go through the process, get approved, and get money paid out to my creditors. I think we've helped somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 guys since then, since 2013. But I was one of the first 5 that got that program that needed the money. Now, of course, you have to go through, give me your bank statements, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
So, NFL player, and you just said you filed bankruptcy. Like, I try to put myself in that position of being on the big stage. We've talked about this in our personal coaching calls before, how a lot of guys truly struggle with the transition from going to the NFL to, let's just call it civilian life. Bankruptcy, like, how did you get there? Tell us that part of that story. Like, I know you came out of the NFL, and you've mentioned before, a lot of people are throwing a lot of things your way on, hey, come invest in this, come do this. What was your journey with that, and what ultimately led you to bankruptcy?
So I chose the path of being an entrepreneur. I got into construction, built this massive organization, became a $15 million a year company. And unfortunately, as the company has success, my ego got really big. I have a saying, if you don't handle success, it will handle and take over you.
Yeah. Where are you living at this time?
I was in Baltimore.
Okay. Baltimore. Gotcha.
So I ended up building this business, having a lot of success with it. my ego got in the way. I stopped focusing on taking care of people and taking care of different processes and systems. And I ended up just literally losing everything because I ended up spending between $2 and $3 million of my own money on a project. Again, I owned the company.
Yeah.
So I did all the work that I was supposed to get done that I thought was change order work, but came to find out that the developer and the contractor thought it was my work to do, not extra work, and they denied my change order, and I went bankrupt. So I went bankrupt like a lot of people do, unfortunately, in business. Yeah. I didn't have a huge spending problem or big houses or cars or, jewelry. I had a nice place. I had nice things, but it wasn't anything excessive. I lost my money in entrepreneurship.
It's a risk. I like in the success cycle when you were talking about your peer group with your they asked you to take them to trips and everying.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, like how did they put you in that kind of position?
Well, it's interesting. So my employees, I ended up becoming a leader that became more friends with his team.
Okay.
And instead of being, again, you can respect your team and you want to support your team, but like I crossed the line. There's a line between being a friend to them and being the leader.
Yeah.
And I crossed that line. And so because of that, a lot of things that I ended up doing, like going on trips and taking things here and there and vacations with them and all that, I got into paying for that, and then it just became a habit. So I can say that the way I ran my business was incorrect, and I was not very structured. I was fly by the seat of my pants all day. I was not good at trying to help people see how to get from where they are to where they need to be. And, when you make a lot of bad decisions and you just keep throwing money at different things, bad things can happen.
Mm-hmm. So was it just the fact that you came out of the NFL and had a padded bank account that made you believe that you could take, and it was Caden, right? The construction company, that made you believe that you can take this thing high? Or was it somebody saying like, hey, commercial construction, man, you got the money, you need to start it now. I got a project manager for you. He'll come along with, like, why that?
So I got into what I call big check, big money syndrome.
Okay.
I wanted to chase money, like you can make a lot of money in construction. And I started in the business and started small, got a partner, and I picked the wrong partner, but that was neither here nor there. And we started small. We were a concrete and demolition contractor. Good things, no issues, no problems, just very, very basic stuff like that. But unfortunately, what happened was I ended up getting into site work, which is like earth moving and grading and excavation of dirt. And that was the biggest mistake I made in my business. Like, we got into that way too early. We didn't have enough capital. And we did some jobs and had some great success. And we built up a nice cash flow in the business, about $3 million, give or take. And it was going great. But one bad job, that's all you need in dirt work. That's all you need. Yeah. So the job we had was for $4 million. The extra work that I did, again, was close to $3 million, give or take. And all of my reserves money that I had, that I worked for with my cash flow, I put into that hole. And once it was denied, there was nothing left. The money was gone. The bank line was gone. My reserves were gone. I took out a loan on my home. I maxed out all my personal credit cards. That was it. And once they said no money's coming your way, I was hoping the bank would extend my line of credit, hoping to get some investors in and buy out my partner. And we almost had an investor come in and buy my partner out, but my partner lied to them about something that showed up at our office and said that it wasn't anything bad, which I knew exactly what it was. It was a letter from a contractor saying we owed them money, and he lied about it. And they're not stupid, so once they realized he lied, they pulled the deal.
Yeah. And that's rough. And obviously I can't relate because I'm not in your shoes.
Sure.
You got big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
But I think in life, it's so hard when you're going through a lot of these different emotions and you're like, why is this happening to me? You know what I mean? And obviously you probably know this now, like why it happened. But I think a lot of people have a hard time resonating that with them, saying like, oh man, hey, like a family member died, then this happened, then that happened. kind of going through that, I mean, what were you telling yourself at this time to, stay positive? Because it sounds like bang, 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 right? If it wasn't for the NFL coming up out that program, who knows what would have happened?
Oh, I know what would have happened. I would have gone homeless. I know what would have happened.
Yeah,
There's
for
no
sure.
doubt about it.
But in those moments, like everybody has, like we've talked about it before, like shit, like this sucks.
Yeah,
But,
going through it.
But we know like something's going to happen. Like you got to stay positive.
Yeah, there's another side.
What do you what were you telling yourself?
So really, man, for the first 6 months between April 2013 and September 2013, it was just pure victim mode, poor me, feel sorry for me for that 6-month time period. When I had my rock bottom moment of clarity with somebody's trash and rotten meat and nasty protruding garbage all over my body, my skin, and my clothes, that was when I said, okay, I have got to turn this around now. I have got to actually make a stand. I'm the one that screwed up. I did all this extra work with no signed contract. I got into earthwork when I shouldn't have. I picked the wrong partner. I treated people badly and my best people left. So once I knew I was the culprit and I needed to change, that's when my mindset shifted to, okay, I've got to turn this around. It's going to start with me, nobody else. And once that happened, then I was telling myself every day, just being more positive, like, okay, you're going to struggle, but you got to get through it. You're going to have adversity, but you got to get through it. Put the bottle down. Go out there and get things done. Make that next phone call. You were told no on this job. This means you'll be no on the next job. Pick up the phone, keep calling. I was told no again, keep going. So I just kept giving myself positive affirmations on a daily basis once I knew that I was the problem that needed to be fixed.
Which I often think is what a lot of people struggle with, is just getting over that initial hump of like, hey, I have to look in the mirror and realize that, holy shit, where I'm at, whether you want to believe it or not, and that's oftentimes the hardest truth to face, is it's all on me. I have to be accountable for myself, my actions, my decisions. And though I can probably come up with a million excuses on, oh, well, it might be this guy's fault. And, oh, well, the market did this, and then this guy was in president. And, oh, well, this business partner. Dude, it's you. It's your life. That's a big hump for a lot of people to get over. I mean, they say the higher you climb, the harder you fall, right? And the longer the fall.
Yeah.
NFL player owns a multi-million-dollar. You were the largest minority-owned business in Baltimore at that time, in Maryland. And then to go to the point where you have the trash falling you, and I don't want to overpass that, because you then became a janitor, right?
I was a janitor at that time.
What kind of hit on your ego was that like? And then also, what steps or what specific action steps would you give to people, or motivation to say, like, dude, when you're going through it, through the thick, and it's hard to get over that hump, here's how you push yourself to get over that hump?
So my ego took a big hit when I took that job, because I knew at that time I had hit not complete rock bottom, but I was really, really down. But when I had that spoiled milk moment, that was my complete rock bottom moment. And so I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, okay, what am I going to do differently? And it started with self-accountability, self-inspiration, and moving forward. And I would tell people, if you're going through something right now, figure out what are your 3 biggest strengths that you possess. 3 biggest strengths. What do you do well? A lot of times people try to figure out what they want to do in life, but haven't figured out what they really do well. So I tell everybody, when you figure out what you do well, right, try to use that and reverse engineer backwards and figure out what you might be able to do for a career. So like me, when I came home after that morning, I said I'm a good storyteller, I'm a good communicator, I can make things simple for people to understand, and I want to help people. That's how I created being a speaker. And I started the business. And again, I struggled for years. And I'm telling everybody, just because you start something and you really like it and you're good at it, doesn't mean you're going to have success right away. You may, but more like you probably won't. So what are you going to be doing in that time to build towards tomorrow? So for me, I had to figure out, okay, what I'm good at, figure that out, started speaking, didn't get a lot of success. Then I had to learn that I need to be telling people the value that they need to hear, not what I want to tell them. And once I figured that out, then things got better, life moved in the right direction, and it'll go from there. But if you're somebody that's listening to this right now and you're struggling to figure out what to do with your life, figure out what are your 3 biggest strengths and move forward from there.
Yeah,
I think it takes a lot of patience, too. In your book, you talk about you didn't get paid for 24 months?
30.
Okay.
30 months.
30 months.
30 months.
Wow.
You didn't get paid.
years.
So it takes a lot of patience before you're even going to get there. I think nowadays people are like, they want this instant gratification. It's like we were talking about with our CEO, Hesh, earlier about investing. Like, hey, everyone's making money on Bitcoin right now, or they're making money on the meme stocks and stuff because they just want that instant cash. Like, oh, like, screw the 10% return on investment. I want I want to triple my money in a day.
Right now, yeah.
But like, you're a perfect example. Like, success doesn't happen overnight.
No.
It takes a lot of patience to be able to get to that.
The Rock said he got a great saying from Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney. To build a legacy brand, it takes 40 years.
Wow.
40 years.
That's a lot of patience.
40 years.
Are you prepared for that?
Now, again, I am, because you didn't say you won't make money along the way.
Right.
Yeah.
For you to be like a legacy brand. Look at people like Tony Robbins, legacy brand. Oprah Winfrey, legacy brand. Damon John's right around 30 years. I mean, he's probably close to 40. I mean, he's in his late 50s, almost 60. I mean, so he's been doing it for 30 to 40 years, right? Look at people like that. Mark Cuban, to Mr. Wonderful, Kevin, I forget his last name, like all these
O'Leary.
people,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they are working these 30, 40 years.
Is that where you want to get to, that legacy? Like, do you see yourself as the next Tony Robbins?
Interesting question. I see myself as the Marques Ogden that is doing what Tony
Yeah,
Robbins does.
exactly.
Right, yeah.
Again, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's where you aspire to be, like.
Right, because here's the thing, right? And Matthew McConaughey had a great quote. He said, he is only chasing himself down the line 10 years further.
That was in the book.
speech.
He just said, so he's chasing himself 10 years down the line.
And what did he say? Like, they asked him 10 years later, and they're like, "Oh, did you chase yourself or something?" And he goes, "I'm not even close."
Yeah,
It's powerful.
It's designed to never catch yourself.
Yeah.
It was designed for.
Yeah.
You're designed to never catch yourself. That way you never stop. Because that's what happened with me with Caden. I set a goal being the #1 contractor. I hit that goal and I stopped. So I set a goal, I hit a goal, and I stopped. Typical day, you set a goal, you hit a goal, you set a new goal.
Yeah, and I mean, just as humans, us just going back biologically, even to our roots, like having something that we are extending for or working towards, that is, I think, what like our purpose on earth is just like evolving and growing,
Getting better.
Yeah, it is, because nature, I mean, if it's not growing, it's dying, and we're nature as well, so you have to grow with that. My question to you on that is, because I think, and I've opened up to Chris about this a lot lately, like my struggle, Marques, and I've told you about this in our coaching calls, is, okay, well, what if like money was my goal? I hit the monetary goal. Does my next goal have to be, oh, we'll just double that or make more of that? Can it, like, do goals just have to be monetarily based, or do I have to be striving for more? Or can the goal be something else, like building something around you or something not monetary, right?
A goal is what you make it. It's not what society tells you you should do or what you should have. So as long as it's something that you want in your frame, in your picture of life, that's all that matters, right? So you are setting the goals. And I feel what happened to me with Caden was I set a goal, and then instead of setting a goal for what I wanted to do after I achieved that first goal, I stopped.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, I was really trying to set the goal of what I felt society wanted me to do financially and all that kind of stuff, and I crashed and burned. So I tell everybody a goal is only going to be really valued if the person wants it, right? Otherwise, it's just like you're living a life for other people. And the problem with that is if you live a life for other people, you're going to live an empty life.
Yeah.
100% correct. So in the book, obviously the success cycle, you came up, I would have to imagine, after going through all this stuff, you then looked back and said, okay, I kind of created this formula where I believe this is what the success cycle is, right? You talk about ambition, drive, and then hard work, and that is your constant cycle. Can you explain to our viewers what exactly that is and why those three components to you make up the success cycle?
So ambition is creating your blueprint for your life. It's identifying your purpose. If you go through life with no purpose, you're going to go through life with an agenda. And an agenda means you're doing something for the short term.
Right.
When you have a purpose, you're actually doing something for the long term, for a long-term haul, right? You're being more down the line, trying to think bigger and not just so short-sighted. So that's ambition, right? You need to create your blueprint, create your goal, and have purpose in your life. Then basically we talk about drive. That's being inspired over motivated. That's when you want to breathe life into other people with your experiences. Like we talked about before. When you're coaching people, you have to be consistent, objective, affluent, and caring, and be a high performer, okay? And the affluent is you have experiences that you've been through. You should be sharing those experiences with others. And if you're not doing that, then unfortunately what you're doing is you're keeping all that information to yourself and you're not passing it on to the next generation.
Yeah, selfish.
Which means you're not going to have a legacy. So you need to really be thinking about giving your information, your knowledge to other people. Make your hindsight other people's foresight. I tell you that all the time in our coaching.
Yep.
What I've been through and failed at in life, I'll be damned, he's going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I've been there, I've done that. And I know what it looks like, I know what it smells like, and he's going to avoid my catastrophic failures because I can identify when trouble's coming. So that's what a good coach does. So that's going to be the drive factor. And in hard work, focus on yourself, not the competition. You said it earlier, social media instant gratification. Social media could either be a gift or a curse. It's because somebody's take a picture of a house or a car or traveling here or there. You know if they own that house. You know if they own that car.
Yeah.
You don't know if they're like running from somebody or not. I mean, you have no idea, right? So like with me, when I travel somewhere, it's authentic because I'm also talking about when I failed here or when I did this wrong here. And I'm very open about the failure. So when people are on social media that I follow that share vulnerable stuff, they're real, they don't have everything being picture perfect, I tend to believe when they have, well, I'm at this place or this is my car. I'm more likely to believe you in that regard. But if somebody's always talking about how great you are, how much money you've made, you never have failed, all that, I'm gonna be like, whoop, I'm turned off.
Yeah. So did you see a lot of guys like that in the NFL? Like we talked about this. I remember one Tuesday in our coaching session. We talked about a lot, or you said a lot of how you're like, Dominic, a lot of these guys in the NFL, they're still financing things. Like it's not cash. They don't have that. And
Which
when they
blows
come out,
my
they're
mind.
broke.
Yeah, that blows my mind.
And I get it. It's the big check syndrome. But I think you could even take that in our industry or in any industry. You know, I mean, 26, 25, 6, 7 years old. We have guys down there making anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000+ a month. You can even have that. So you have that from all ages. And then you go into the NFL where you think that you have grown men, right, who are on the big stage and they have everything handled. Financial advisors, this and that. Like, what is the driving factor behind that, you think, for a lot of these guys? And then why is it that all of a sudden now they have to have, you know, the NFL trust set up to help these guys after? I know you talked about the big check syndrome, but like, is it just keeping up with the Joneses? Is that how the locker room like that, flashy?
A lot of that comes in. You have incoming rookies trying to keep up with like 10-year, 12-year vets.
Yeah.
And you can't do that because their money's a lot longer than yours, a lot longer. They've been doing it longer. And if they've been smart, they've been saving more. I think a lot of times guys feel the pressure of having to buy a certain type of car, certain type of shoes, certain type of clothes to look a certain way to keep up the image of being an NFL athlete. And again, trying to keep up with veterans who've been doing it longer, make more money, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The problem with that is it's a shallow way to live because you're just going to keep pumping money into something. You don't get anything back.
So did you feel, I mean, you would think a guy who's in the NFL, at least what I thought when I was younger is like, oh my God, those guys, they're warriors out there. They're like in the Coliseum. Like they're hardened mindsets. They don't even think negative. Did you ever have a lot of times of doubt within yourself where looking in the mirror, you're like, dude, I'm sitting here. I was in the NFL. I'm a janitor now. I have this garbage falling on me. All of a sudden, the first thought is, I want to go be a speaker. Like, what is my story? Like, yeah, this is my story, but like, who's going to want to listen to me if I'm not even like, you know, you think, oh, Tony Robbins, he's a big speaker because he's, you know, multi-millionaire. He's on top now, has the books, this and that. How was that for you, kind of picking your morale up and continuously going, other than the positive affirmations when you were down?
And I'll use Tony as an example. Tony Robbins was a janitor himself. So,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He was a janitor, 17 years old. He was a janitor himself. Absolutely he was. So every expert was once a beginner. So what I felt is if I could figure out how to tell my story, I could be very impactful. But like you said, my story wasn't evolved yet. So that's why a lot of times my things were free. You know, Boys and Girls Club, Pop Warner, high school football, because there was no real substance behind the action steps. I was a motivational speaker. Today I'm an inspirational speaker because I can give you the action steps you can put into your own life. But at that time, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So what I tell people is that every expert was once a beginner. So you have
That's
to
true.
start somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can you explain the difference between motivation and inspiration?
Sure. Motivation is when you do things for the short term, like money, fame, notoriety, cars, flash, all this stuff. That's when you're just living your life for the short term, thinking about what you can get today, kind of like instant gratification. Inspiration is doing something for the long haul, helping others along the way. So it's breathing life and or hope into someone. So think about it like this. Motivation is short term. Inspiration is for the long haul.
Wow. Okay.
Kind of going back to the whole, being patient with everything.
Right.
It, creating that legacy 40 years and everything.
Yeah. I feel like when you said that, what I instantly thought of was, oh, I'm motivated to get healthy, so I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow, and I'm going to go buy these shoes, to go look flashy at the gym, versus the inspiration of like, dude, I'm trying to play basketball with my kid when I'm 45, right? Of like, I want to have long-term health.
Sometimes I feel like even on this, hey, this is episode 1, and we have a long career ahead of us, Dominic. But I truly feel more inspired to do these things than I do motivated. And like we talked about earlier, like, dude, we don't really care how many people are listening. At the end of the day, like, we know what we want to do, and it's more fun than anything else. So I feel like more inspired to be able to do stuff like this than motivated, which is why I have the conviction to know that this will be big one day.
100%. It's the fact that if you can back what it is you're behind and what it's delivering, I think that's the inspiration of it too. Again, kind of going back to like what he's saying is like, I'm now inspired. I want to teach what I've done and what I've gone through, so you don't make those mistakes.
Yeah.
We want to, we have the people like Marques with us. I'm very fortunate to have him where I can speak to him weekly. We listen to him monthly, right? He'll be into Liberty tomorrow to speak to the company. We have Hesh. We have these people in high business status around us and just in life in general who have kind of gone through things where it's like, hey, do this, don't do this, watch out for this. This is what's going to happen when you start making money and you're young. You're going to have these people come at you. And just to give you that guidance, it's wanting to coach and to show other people, not necessarily that we're coaching other people, but just providing a platform for people to have that inspiration, and having people who are inspiring like him on there who can give some further inspiration to others.
I wonder how many people will actually take the advice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think that's the big thing too, is just like, oh, I know everything. And maybe that comes from like childhood insecurities maybe. But like, hey, we're giving, like, here's the platform. We got this guy, Marques Ogden. He knows what he's talking about. He's been through this stuff. How many people, I wonder, will actually go ahead and take that advice
And implement it.
Well, here's the thing. If people who are giving advice like I'm giving to your audience
For sure.
share their real story where they're humanized and they're authentic and they're not coming at them like with an ego or full of themselves, people are more likely to listen. So I spoke to the Ohio State University athletes I mentioned earlier last week in Columbus. And one of the young athletes, woman ice hockey player in her 5th year, said, Mr. Ogden, I've been around a lot of speakers in my athletic career, high school through college, all this stuff. No one's ever inspired me until you did today, because people have told me, like, well, here's your goals. Here's how you accomplish them. You should do this. You should do that. But none of them ever shared with her when speaking their story. Like she said, well, I don't know who you are, where you're coming from, what you've been through. Why should I listen to you? It's like they were telling people what to do and how to do it. They weren't telling people why they chose to do what they're doing to help you. So for me, it's all about the why, right? Like Simon Sinek says, like, I'm big on the why. And again, you know who I am. And if my story won't fit your audience, no problem. I don't begrudge you. Move forward. If you don't want a guy that's going to be real, sharing his experiences, his ups and downs, I'm not your guy.
Yeah. I think it's almost where, for example, if that wasn't said, or if they have somebody else in who wasn't inspiring to that girl, it's like, you just have player X in and he says, oh, go and set your goal and do this and this is how you accomplish it, versus saying, hey, I'm a human. Yeah, I was in the NFL. Yeah, I built a massive company, but I fell. I absolutely failed, and I'm a human, and I went through it, and guess what? I had doubt just like you do. And I experienced failure, and I experienced ups and downs, and I built myself out of the mud and brought myself back up. And I think it's just the humanizing factor that allows people to feel like, dude, it's okay to go through shit. And actually going through shit is a part of the process, and that's okay. And that's a part of it that's molding you and shaping you along in your journey. And I guarantee you still probably face no's here and there that help shape you in your platform and your speaking business that's continuously growing.
Yeah.
Well, you're always gonna, if you're out selling and marketing yourself like you should be every day, you're gonna get told no every day. Thing is, now I don't take the no's personal. But the no's don't affect me like they used to. Like I would get told no a few years ago, or probably say 5-6 years ago, I'd be down for like a day and a half. Tell me no today, thank you very much for your time. Within 2 seconds, I'm on to the next person, right? Because I don't want that negative mindset to creep in. To then, Aristotle has a great quote: "In times of extreme darkness, focus on the light." So for me, the light is my father and him and his legacy. That's my light. To why I kept going and speaking when all the darkness of my ego and self-doubt and am I good enough? Does my story make sense? The darkness was consuming my life. But I had a little glimmer of hope in that light with my father, and I just kept focusing on that. And why I never stopped in 2.5 years, I just kept pushing out the darkness. And my dad would push out all the ego, all the drama, all the negativity. Till today, my world is like predominantly light. There's a little bit of darkness, like you get told no, but I push it out. So there's like this big circle, and it's like 98% light.
See, I wish I would have known that back when I wrestled back in high school and college. I would lose a match, and it would be really close, and I would just get so down on myself. And this happens all the time. You see, like everyone, like the semi-slide guy. You get to the semifinals of the wrestling tournament, so you're gonna place, but then you lose that match, and then you just kind of like give up. And then you automatically place 6 because you didn't really try,
Okay.
I wish I would have known, there's times of darkness, you go into the light, focus on the light and everything. More often than not, I was just like, I don't want to, what's the point anymore?
Right.
I'm not going to win it, so what's the point?
A lot of times the human instinct is to get down ourselves when we are defeated and to not celebrate ourselves when we have wins, right? That's usually normal how it is. I tell people all the time, when you have a win, celebrate it. Don't make it like a whole big, fantastic party, but recognize what you've done. If you've lost something, acknowledge it and move on. One of my good friends, a guy named Jamie, his name is Jamie Hopkins, works for the Carson Group, has a saying: in order to be successful and live your life, live by the 3 G's: gratitude, grace, grit. Learn to win with gratitude, grace, and grit. Learn to lose with gratitude, grace, and grit. And it's interesting, and I started doing that the last couple of weeks once he kind of shared his knowledge with me, and it's been great. Because in life, be grateful for what you have. Grace, know who you are and stay even keel. If you have success, don't get too high. If you lose, don't get too low. And then just have, grit. Like, you're going to have the ups and downs. You're going to have the negativity. You got to push through it. So a lot of times people, when we have those negative times, we get very down on ourselves and we just say, ugh.
It's easy.
It's easy.
Yeah.
It really
easy.
is.
Yeah.
It's easy to have those negative thoughts, but it's like, how do you move forward at this point? That's the tough part. Like, it's easy to, it's very easy. Like in sales, it's easy to be able to go through your daily tasks, how you have your routine set when you're feeling good and everything, when you're coming off a couple wins, a couple closings. But then you have at least in our world, I know I'm speaking lingo, but like appraisal comes short or, a borrower shops you or something like that. Anything that could really turn down your day.
Out of your sale.
But it's like, how do you take all that negativity that you just got and then still going through your routine?
Well, a couple things. One of the things you talk about, appraisal shorts, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
You've been through the ringer with it too.
So that's one.
Yeah.
But 2, what you got, how I do it, man, if somebody doesn't hire me, I just say, I appreciate the opportunity, have a fantastic day. And then I think to myself, they missed out on the right person.
Yeah.
That's going to inspire them. That's going to teach them. It's going to help them. So if you start thinking about, okay, well, somebody shops you around, appraisal comes up short, you don't get the business, just say, you know what? It sucks, but this person will it's going to miss the chance to work with me. And so when you put into that mindset, into
it's a
that
good
mind
frame
frame,
to have. Yeah.
then you're good.
Conviction.
Really cool.
Yeah, because you realize that you can do the job. But again, like I said, literally, Hesh and Liberty Home Mortgage did a mortgage for our house. Like, I had gone through, we had looked at houses for like probably 4 or 5 years, and we were actually looking at houses we probably couldn't afford them, to be honest with you. I remember like all these mortgage people, oh yeah, let's go ahead and get you a pre-qual. We can look at this, we can look at that. And no one really couldn't get it done. And then 2020, we were working with we're buying a home, working with the builder's mortgage company. it was so painful. It was so long. It was so drawn out and all this other stuff. And we got to the finish line and boom, pulled the rug off from under us. The deal didn't get done. We lost the house. With Hesh, what it is that, literally what he said he was going to do, he got it done. Did he call me sometimes being annoying? Yep, sure did. But I'd rather have a guy like that that's over calling me than a guy like the other mortgage companies that weren't calling me at all.
Left in the dark, yeah.
Mortgage companies that were telling me something that wasn't true. So again, you talk about how I look at Hesh. I would have missed out on a great mortgage company, great mortgage lender if I didn't get with Hesh.
Yeah.
So people that don't work with Hesh are missing out on a guy that is committed, that's hardworking, that's going to, more times than not, find a way to get it done. Same thing with you guys.
So what you're saying, Marcus, is Liberty Home Mortgage is the best damn mortgage company in the United States.
We know that already.
To anyone listening, we did not preface that before.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I'll tell you from my experience, I've worked for probably about maybe 10 or 15 the last few years. I'm looking at different places and looking to get pre-qual. And again, like I said, we probably shouldn't even done that.
Yeah.
But we were working different people. You all were the best, the most efficient, and you all got things done in the time frame you said it was going to get done. You were the most reliable by far. You didn't overpromise me stuff. You didn't underdeliver. You guys underpromised and overdelivered. You met deadlines. You all were great. Even I remember one time, we were about to close in September of this year, right? And literally, man, it was September 23rd. Never forget the date. Hesh called and said, Marcus, if we close September 27th like they say, we're good. No problem. Ready to go. If this loan goes into October 1, 2, wherever the case may be, you're going to, because I'm a business owner, you're going to have to file your taxes. And if you owe the tax man a day, you're going to have to pay that debt. Now, I have the money sitting in an account to pay the debt, no big deal. But he told me, well, Marcus, if you do pay the debt, the computer doesn't like when you have assets pulled away.
It's true.
So he said, you might end up not getting the loan at this rate, or you might have to pull a bit more down. I mean, he's telling me all this stuff. Now, literally, I literally remember hanging up the phone, calling the builder, and say, man, look, if you don't get this shit done, for us to move in here by Monday, as you say, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a real problem. I'm gonna act like you're a D lineman, I'm an O lineman, go back to them. It was that bad. But remember though, man, we called them, we closed on the 27th.
There you
and
go.
We got into the house, and we didn't have to worry about the tax money, that stuff. But my point is that I'd rather have somebody like that call me, like Hesh did. I was pissed off and didn't want to hear the call, but at least I was able to call the builder and then help move these guys along.
That's what we're taught a lot, though, is, listen, end of the day, good news, bad news, no news, you got to make the call. No matter what. I mean, dude, I've been in situations where I'm like, interest rates just, back 2019, interest rates just jumped up. Now my borrower's DTI, debt to income ratio, blew it. Oh, dude, I got listen, my sales manager's not making that call.
You got it.
No one else, Hesh isn't making the call.
Nope.
I got to make the call and tell them, listen,
it didn't work out.
This isn't working, and it sucks, but you got to do it.
You have to. Here's the thing. I'd rather you tell me, because I remember, man, we ended up having to we moved in with my in-laws, before this last time, and we were set to get the house, and we moved and all this other stuff. And we literally, when the deal fell out, we had to scramble to call the old rental place back that we were, call them, and we had to we moved twice. We moved from our place, put stuff in storage,
oh my God,
moved to my in-laws, and then when it fell through, we had to go back to the storage place, bring everything back to the house, move from my in-laws back there. So then we spent probably about $5,000 on just double moving in less than a month. So, but the mortgage company didn't tell us that this might happen. They were not very proactive.
Yeah, they weren't communicating.
At all. They were reactive, and they were very inconsistent with their dialogue.
Yeah,
it's just communication, man. I mean, our sales managers, everybody. I mean, it's just a common thing. Communication.
Pride yourself on it. You have to.
This isn't. At the end of the day, it's not rocket science. You just communicate stuff, right?
100%.
That's all you do.
100%. Marcus, I want to ask you something I was thinking about last night when I was doing some prep for this.
Sure.
Because I feel like I've never even heard it, or I've never even heard you say it, or it's not in the book. Chris and I are awesome accountability partners for each other. And
It's so lovely.
it is. For example, I said something to him yesterday, like I was frustrated about it. He goes, dude, practice what you preach. Like he gave me tough love. He's like, you got it. Like, you know the shit to implement. Just do it. I was like, okay, you're right.
Right.
I also find too that with the podcast, it's almost like its own, and posting on social media, it's its own accountability partner. And I'm not saying because it's like you're putting out fake stuff and it's like, oh, I got to live that life. But it's essentially like, dude, we're talking about this. Like, I want to make sure I'm really living it always as well.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
don't want to be a charlatan or like
that's
fake
right.
person.
That's right. Like,
you know?
I'm going to come out here and say, oh, well, sales is tough, but you got to put in the hours, you got to do the work, this and that. And then I'm not doing it, right? I'm leaving every day at 4:00.
Yeah, there's
right?
no authenticity.
That's right. I feel like as a keynote speaker, you're up in front of people. There's a sense of your own job is literally a self-imposed accountability partner. Maybe this is the first time you thought about it when I brought that up. Do you feel that pressure, or do you feel that sense of within yourself like, man, I got to get up and not for my family. I'm sure that's a huge motivator, but like, I just spoke to Ohio State and like, I have to put on and make sure I'm going because I gave them inspiration, and I still got to be an inspiration for the man I look at in the mirror and for the other people that are soon going to be clients for me. You know, like, is your job its own self-accountability partner?
Oh, absolutely it is.
Yeah.
And so absolutely it was hard in the beginning because I was inexperienced. I was not a good communicator, even though I thought I was. I mean, I was a good communicator, but I didn't know how to speak with clarity. I didn't know how to speak with confidence. I didn't know how to speak and not be nervous or stammer or stutter, all this other stuff. So in the beginning it was hard. But today, it's, I know that's what my job is. I chose this profession. And when you choose to do something, serve your clients to the best of your ability. Otherwise, don't do it. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? Take us through your day then. Like, how are you, like, do you read a lot? Do you, like, you work out a lot? Like, you're gym junkie?
I work out every day.
Sure.
Gym junkie. I'm reading more, doing a lot more Audible books as well.
Yeah.
I love to read books and try to take pieces of content that I feel will be very advantageous or very beneficial to our audiences. I always give people the credit. Like one of my clients who wrote a book called From the Battlefield to the Boardroom. He's a special ops guy, and he actually works in the White House under George Walker Bush and Barack Obama as their chief communications officer.
Wow.
Has a great quote in his book it says, building relationships plus building trust equals loyalty. Bo Bravo. So I always give people the credit. Like I tell you, my friend Jamie Hopkins with gratitude, grace, and grit. Like if I don't invent something or create something, I don't take credit for it because that's not who I am. Like I don't want to be up there, oh, he's a guy that took. No, like if you said something, like every time I put a quote out on social media, if it's like whoever's quote it is, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, whoever it is, they give him credit because that's the kind of person I want to be. I don't want to be somebody that actually is doing something but not living the whole being real.
Yeah. Like you're a charlatan at that point. You're basically a fake person. Like you have to practice what you preach.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
But a lot of success too is just mimicking. So if you could take insight and inspiration from somebody else's quote or a book or this and that, I mean, just like Hesh was saying, you weren't in it, but Monday in the meeting, he's like, guys, I just took what I'm doing, like from other people. Like I just watched and I just implemented. I realized if it worked for me, cool. If it didn't, I tried something else. And then I looked to the next person up to figure that out. And I think what's awesome is we have each other to push each other to try things. And then we have our managers, and we have Hesh to show us like kind of the ropes as long as we go, which is going to help us grow our business. Who do you look to? Who is in your circle? Who kind of pushes and inspires you and motivates? Is it Les Brown, who you haven't met, or is it like
more your dad?
Do you have a coach? Yeah, like who?
Yeah,
who's your circle?
So Mel Robbins is a mentor of mine. She's a huge speaker, female speaker, does a lot of things. She's regarded as one of the top female speakers in the world. And then my coach is a guy named Brad Mitchell, who started the NAPSA program, which I went to at Penn State. And that's where I learned about how to become a better speaker, a better coach, a better consultant, about how to create strategies and processes and different programs and thought process and become more of a thought leader by using my past football experience and my past business experience and failure in business with Caden to start this business coaching. So I met him in 2018, end of February, beginning of March. And I went through the program, which was amazing. And to be honest with you guys, I didn't want to go. I thought I knew everything. And looking back on it, my ego was like, I've got a few paid jobs with some Fortune 500 companies. I don't need to go. And my mentor, a guy named Andre Collins, said, Marcus, look, you're good at what you do. If you want to be great, go this program. And I said, all right. And I went, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me because, again, I have a process. I know how to now take content and recreate stuff like I did in the book they gave me, in the binder they gave me, and it's just changed my life for the better in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
It's those small things, I think, that push you from good to great. Like Jim Collins, we have him over there. But they talk about like the small things. If you want to be, good, like good is the opposite of great. It's like, you want to be great. You don't want to be average. But doing stuff like that, like understanding that you need a mentor, you need somebody to push you, have an accountability partner, someone that's going to be able to push you forward. That stuff's huge. Yeah. And maybe people do understand that, but they don't take advantage of it maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I think we were texting about it. It was like, oh, yeah, it was. It was one morning. I was like, dude, I figured it out. You're like, what? Share me. Like, I'm so intrigued. I was like, dude, everybody just needs to do what we did. Just find somebody up here who's relatively close in whatever it is you're doing and who's kind of has a relative goal, right? We're kind of close in proximity. We're very close in proximity with money and business and what it is we're trying to do. And, of course, we have the podcast. It's like, dude, we just keep pushing each other. You come to me on Monday, Dominic, I started emailing 5 realtors a day, or I started messaging them and reaching out to, just 5 friends on Facebook about buying a house, keep me in mind, yada, yada. Well, it's like, well, shit, like I want to do that now. I think that's the key, man, is literally find somebody around you in close proximity with whatever it is your craft is or what you're doing and latch on and help each other and push each other, because it truly is. If you want to go far, or if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah, I think Malcolm Gladwell, when I first understood this, was he said, you're the summation of your 5 closest friends, right? So, if you have a significant other, you even said earlier, you got to choose. You have to choose the right significant other, preferably before you get famous and everything.
Be nice if you can, but if not, then just try the best you can.
100%. But show me your 5 closest friends. I show you your future. You know what I mean? So do you like, can you talk on that? Like, who are your 5 closest people that you spend the most time with?
So I've got a good friend of mine, James. I work out with at the gym every day. Great guy. I've known him now for probably about going on 9 years. Of course, Brad Mitchell, who is one of my good friends and my coach. Then my good buddy, Corey Smith, who is the retired Baltimore Ravens chapter chaplain. So he works with all the retired Baltimore Ravens players in the Baltimore area. He's a really good friend of mine. And I have a good friend of mine, Kent James, who's down in Florida or in Jacksonville. So, I've got some good guys. Kent is great just to bounce ideas off. When it comes to business, he works for CSX and he's also a speaker. We've been friends for about going on 6 years. And then Corey's been a friend of mine for, it'll be a decade next year. Like I said, Brad Mitchell and James I've known for almost a decade as well, 10 years. So for me, it's just different people in different areas of my life that I really can connect with and can really be friends with and kind of go from there.
You think it's okay sometimes, like, you may think somebody is there for you. I mean, it sucks, but like, someone could be a good friend of yours, and then all of a sudden, you start seeing the signs like, hey, dude, you're drinking too much, or hey, dude, this guy's not going to class, or some the signs are there that show you like, hey, maybe this guy or gal isn't good for me.
You don't mind.
So you change. I'm sure this has changed for you.
Of course, as you evolve, you should be transitioning through life, right? Which means you can adapt to the change around you. So just because you have friends of mine when you were 20s, me, you'll be friends of mine when you're 30. That's the same person when you're 30.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that. As you grow and evolve and set new goals, new heights to soar to, if people that have known aren't trying to do the same thing, you're going to naturally fall off. I mean, I had best friends of mine through like high school and childhood, and they were really not. I mean, we're more of acquaintances. I very rarely talk to them other than like special days, holidays, birthdays, whatever. Yeah. But I don't talk to them like I used to. And it is what it is. I mean, everybody's not going to be on the same trajectory that you are.
Sure. I mean, life is short. I mean, why are you going to let the wrong people in your life, I guess?
Yeah, 100%. And also, too, I think it's having sound people around you who are also willing and able to let you know when you're starting to fall off track yourself, too. And, hey, you're not displaying what it is you typically do. Or you're
it's a hard conversation.
It is, but it's necessary. I texted somebody very close to me the other day and was just like, hey, if I, just out of curiosity, if I fell off in any way, would you let me know? Like, would you check me? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, just very simply, if you noticed I was acting out of character from what I normally am, I'm not saying it I am or I'm suspecting or I'm gonna,
right?
Would you check me? And, I think maybe one thing that I've recognized from your story is maybe I'm wrong. Did you have that around you, like on kind of your downfall from like the NFL to Caden and not? Because it seems like, you had your one project manager around you who was in the office one day saying like, Marques, this is not good.
Colin,
you didn't listen, right?
Yep.
So I then look at your whole story and say, Marques, yeah, there was a lot of accountability, but there was a lot more deeper internal work that you had to do for yourself to then become this person who's on a platform speaking to Fortune 500 companies and beyond. What helped you fix your ego, your attitude, your mentality to then become this person where you care less about the big paycheck and you care more about inspiring other people and helping them?
Real simple answer. When you lose everything, you appreciate everything. Mm-hmm. And when I lost everything and I got to that point, I said, if I ever can get myself back on even keel, back in a place where I can potentially help others, I'm going to do it. And that's what it took. And it took the internal soul searching for me to figure out that my gift was speaking. And it went through a lot of ups and downs, trials and tribulations, yays and nays. But at the end of the day, that's really what it was all about, having to go through that process and make it be where I'm at today.
Do you think you're obviously in a position where you coach? I personally get coached by you. You coach the Liberty team. Mm-hmm. You've told me before that Tom Brady hired Tony Robbins, right? He pays him every year, and Tony Robbins actually coaches Brady. They talk weekly, right? Does everyone need a coach? Do certain people need a coach? Who needs a coach? And why is it important to have somebody like that?
Everybody needs a coach if you're trying to become successful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what industry you're in, what age you are. I coach high school players. I coach college athletes. I coach NFL. I coach retired guys. I coach business owners. I coach you. It doesn't matter what industry that you're in. Everybody needs a coach. Michael Jordan had one. Kobe Bryant had one. LeBron James has one. Bill Gates has one. Tony Robbins has a coach. Everybody has a coach. And if you don't have a coach, then obviously I feel you're not really investing in your future. Because a great coach is an investment, not an expense, on your growth. So everybody needs to have one because we all have blind spots. We all have things that we don't do well. And a coach will help us recognize that and create a plan of action to move within that space.
I think they're going to hit you with a little bit of reality too. You know, like you can get constructive criticism from people that, close friends, accountability partners, but at the end of the day, like you said, you have blind spots sometimes. Coach is going to tell you, hey, listen, get with reality. You're not doing this right. You got to do this. You got to wake up early. You got to blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what I want. Like, I would like for that person to be able to tell me, hey, listen, you're doing well, but you need to do this, that, the other thing. Again, it's an ego check too. You got to obviously be able to make sure that, hey, I don't know everything. There's somebody helping me out here. Like, you got to be able to, be vulnerable in that position.
And I think as a coach, if I'm putting myself in your shoes, Marques, I would find it difficult to, across the board, right? You work with me. I do mortgages. You work with, let's say, John Kassman, right? He does real estate investing. You work with maybe athlete. You work with various industries. How do you as a coach, like, do you do a lot of prep work, or is it for you, you're just giving general principles of success, or like how do you adapt to their specific industry?
It varies. So like all the coaching is customizable to that person's path and their success they want to be on. And once you figure out what that is, you then do your prep work and you create a program for them. So that's why I need to know, okay, what industry are you in? What are your goals? What are you trying to get accomplished? And if I know the industry, like I know mortgages, I know real estate, I know sports, I know speaking, I know business acumen, I can coach in that. I don't know technology. I'll never be a technology coach. I don't know neuroscience. I'll never be a neuroscience coach. So stay in my lanes. But I've been blessed because of my experiences in life, football to construction to mortgages to real estate to all this stuff. I have that type of background that goes around different industries.
So have you ever denied somebody the opportunity to be coached by you?
Yep.
What does that take? Like,
this we're not a good fit. Like either your ego is going to be a problem, or you're in an industry that I don't really have much knowledge about, and I just say I can't help you. So and then this wasn't a good fit. But maybe it's either if you have an ego, or it's just not the right fit for as far as that goes.
Has anyone ever been upset with you? Like,
no, I mean, I think people respect the fact that I don't want to take their money if I can't help them. I don't ask them for, give me a credit card, then, let me fire you, then keep your money. No, I mean, and some coaches do that. Like they'll get a client, know that they can't help, and it goes bad, and then they fire that, they get fired, they fire that person, they don't give them a refund.
Oh, jeez.
I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that.
You, I loved the gratitude, grace, and grit, right? When you do your gratitude journal, what's on there? Like, what is the solid foundation that makes Marques and what's around you? Like, what are you most grateful for in life?
For my family, for the fact that I have people that, are in my life that have been there, like my wife's been through the ups and downs, the having money, not having money, to make it $8 now to what I make now, going on stage and speaking and coaching and consulting. And she's been there throughout the whole time. And she's been very, just been my rock throughout the whole time. So I'm grateful for my family and the friends that I have that are true friends, people that aren't just like in and out because of, what I'm doing with my career.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember in the book, you had the story where, who was the person from, you walked into the other room and you were like, I can't believe he said this to me.
Oh yeah. A friend of mine that worked for the Ravens at the time.
Yes.
And he's no longer there, but I knew him for a while. He denied me coming to work with them and gave me like this really he just kind of like, laid at me for, I don't know, he wanted to feel good about himself, whatever the case was, but he gave me some real harsh, criticism that was not necessary or even like, didn't even make sense. And so, it's funny that he's no longer with the team and he's, I don't think he's even in the NFL anymore. And it's interesting how the tables turn when you treat people like that. So
yeah,
never forget that.
I mean, you get off that phone call, you walk into that room and your wife right away is like, Marques, listen, like you know your worth. I know your worth. You're going to push through and get through to where it is you want to be. To have that, not like a close friend, that's different, but to have that in a companion, that had to be like for you also like, all right, you know what, Marques, like, let's go. You're the man of this house. Like that's a breath of life right there.
Yep.
That's something to be grateful for.
That's
man.
Inspiration that was breathed into me to keep going. I wanted to quit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so ambition, hard work, drive, right? And also in the book, toward the end, Dominic, you probably haven't gotten there yet. I'm kidding. But you talk about multiple streams of income and how important it is. We get a lot of different. I mean, we're in finance. We talk to a lot of different people in finance. The everything money guys. Our brokers and everything. Everyone has their own kind of different spiel on how to make, grow, and invest their money. In the success cycle, you talk about multiple streams of income, and it's different from you than it would be with somebody else. But just share that with anybody who's listening. How important are multiple streams of income?
It's everything, because if one lane dries up, you have other ways of making money, and you're not acting, or you're not doing business from a position of scarcity where you're afraid if you don't get this job or get this client, you can't eat. So like for me, I have speaking, I have coaching, I have consulting, books, brand ambassador, podcast co-host. So we've got all these different ways of making money. My wife ghostwrites books. She's a teacher. She does Zumba. So you want to create these different streams. That way you're not relied on one in case one does not come through, and you have to make plans and adjust from there.
Yeah.
But Marques, I have no time. Like, all these people making excuses and everything.
You know what? If you don't have the time, you need to make time or be content with being not having what you want.
That's 100% right. You mentioned the podcast. How did, first of all, plug that a little bit. Tell us what it's about, who you do it with, and how you came to kind of connect with your co-host. And you told him no a couple times, right?
Yep. So it's the Lev Marques Show. We are globally ranking the top 2% of all podcasts worldwide. We are, we've been out since May 3rd of this year. We interview all types of people, athletes, current athletes, retired athletes, business owners, executives, doesn't matter. And we've had a really good run. And I met Lev when I did his show, the Lev Ball Show, and we hit it off, and he asked me to do it. And I said no 3 times because I had tried a podcast and it failed in 2017. The 4th time I said yes. We started recording in April, published in May of this year. Started going after sponsors in August of this year. We have now 25 secure sponsors of the podcast. We're growing like crazy. We have lots of great people. I'm actually coaching people now on how to grow their podcasts. And it's been great. And it's just been fun, and I enjoy it. And, things are kind of moving in the right direction in that regard.
Just adding on to the multiple streams.
Yeah, you have You texted me about somebody pretty exciting coming on the podcast yesterday, Mr. Joe Namath, right?
Correct.
That's pretty
correct.
exciting.
It comes on Friday of this
Yeah.
week, and then we've got Ricky Williams next week on Wednesday coming on the show.
Wow.
And we've got some great people that are in the lineup, man.
I got to be honest. I want the Matthew McConaughey to work out.
Yeah, that's gotta. I mean,
I want that to work
We're
out.
pushing that, but he loves Texas guys. So Ricky's going to come on. We're going to talk to Jermichael Finley about coming on, and he loves Texas. So getting more Texas guys will also get him one to come on and share his stuff. So
Yeah,
we got that in the works too.
that's
Be
amazing.
huge.
That's amazing. Marques, let the people know elsewhere where they can find you. Not only with the Lev Marques Show, obviously. I think you're pretty much on all platforms
We
with
are.
that. Yep.
Mhm. Yep.
By the way, go and listen on Apple
Yep.
Podcast. Drop a review there. That helps.
Yep.
Learning that from
Absolutely.
you.
we'll
That
put
really
a link.
helps.
We'll put a link in the video too.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
100%. Where you have a website, Instagram, Facebook. Where are you at?
They can go to our website, www.marques, M-A-R-Q-U-E-S, Ogden, O-G-D-E-N.com. Facebook's Marques Ogden, LinkedIn's at Marques Ogden, Instagram's at Marques_Ogden, Instagram's at Marques Ogden. Connect with us and reach out to us, and let's have a conversation.
Cool, man.
Absolutely.
Just to kind of close this out, Dominic and I are 26-year-olds. Our demographic, the people who our audience really is kind of our age group and
Sure,
everything.
sure.
One piece of advice, Marques.
Get a mentor or a coach. If you don't have one, get one. Because if somebody can make their hindsight your foresight, you're on the way to success.
And then what would you say, because that mentor, you would believe, if they've gone through it, you've selected them to be a mentor, they're obviously in a position where they've gone through it. Listening is, I don't even want to say half the battle. It's maybe a fourth of the battle. You got to implement.
Yeah, you have to create your strategic plan and you have to tactically implement what you've been taught. Otherwise, why even bother hiring a coach? Because it's not going to take you anywhere.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
Marques, thank you so much, man. Let's go get some steak.
It's episode 1 in the books, everybody. Hey, thanks for everyone listening today.
That's right.
Much love. Appreciate it.
Give us a follow on everything and the Apple reviews. The Apple reviews. Give a 5-star review. And, of course, share it. That's the biggest thing, the free marketing, right? If you or someone around you has found some insider inspiration, share it. One friend, that's it. Pass it along. You never know the butterfly effect, who it eventually reaches, and who not only ourselves can reach, but Marques as well. And as, of course, we appreciate everybody's support. We'll see you next week.
See you.